Hi folks, 30th of November 2020, Monday. Piotr here, this is Liteforex Global YouTube channel. 3 minutes towards the US cash close. End of the month flow dominates today, and well, that was quite an interesting day. Monday overall is very tough to trade, and when it comes to the last day of the month, it's going to be or it is real challenge. Overall, guys, what we have, let's start with the crude. Briefly, strongly encourage you to watch weekly preview. There was a attempt to break to the upside, so there was a stop hunt, something we discussed, and strong rejection with the lower shadow towards the end of the day. Very interesting, but I do eventually expect, if you were watching weekly preview, you know what I'm talking about. Again, if you haven't, strongly encourage you, go and check yesterday's video. We might see a little bit higher levels and then eventually rejection. This event called Opec meeting, so that's what I'm waiting for. Next one, also discussed yesterday with the weekly preview, gold is going lower, almost hitting 1750, our target. From that perspective, 1750, 1715 to the downside, 1830, 1850 to the upside, discussed yesterday. Now, indices, well, that's the challenge. Bulls were trying, but from the monthly chart perspective, looks like we are going to get the close right below previous month high. That's gonna be significant. If you do remember today's entry, we were much higher. Then we've seen significant sell-off over the course of the day with the strong Fed, other central banks manipulation rally towards the end of the day. But anyway, we're trying to hold the upper trend line intraday with this nice rejection. So overall, guys, if we are going to get the close below 12,275 right here, right now, it might be the short setup. If you are monitoring my live activity, you know I'm short indices. So overall, not that great development, but guys, we still might see attempt to go a little bit higher. For now, the current level is quite okay when it comes to the attempt to short, because it's a question about this possible swing high over here. But don't forget what we already discussed based on the daily chart, and I'm prepared for that. Guys, you have to remember that whatever we are talking, there is always plan in place. I'm prepared eventually for this type of the rally, this 1 eventually 1, we made the measure towards 12,675, 12,700. Why? Eventually it might be the third attempt to break higher here, and I do expect some kind of the failure eventually over there with the move down towards this eventually channel based on the daily chart. All right, so that's how I see the things when it comes to the oil gold updated to the yesterday weekly preview. Nasdaq. Now time for FX market. Let's start with the euro dollar. Again, just a short update basically to what we discussed with the weekly preview. Okay, we went a little bit higher. I answered the comments on the Telegram group when it comes to my bearish view. So I'm holding short medium term, and as I mentioned in the inside the Telegram group, I've been scalping intraday day trading to the short side around 120. I've been trying to fade all these rallies, and guess what? Boom! Strong rejection, monster rejection. But I would be careful right now. Why? Why I would be very careful right now? Because we are testing the possible intraday demand right here, right now. What I'm looking for, eventually, I'm looking for the retest of the 50% of that zone. I'm looking for eventually to retest 1960, 1975, and I'm going to try to trade from the intraday perspective this type of the setup. I'm holding my medium term short we discussed previous week when it comes to the euro dollar. Well, to be honest with you, euro is even weaker than the pound, where we got quite few interesting news related to the Brexit, where all of them were negative, right? But there is a big but, and it's very interesting towards the December, because we are trying to hold within the tight range. It's really tight range when it comes to the pound. So still the name of the game, sell the rallies, buy the bottom. It used to work for quite some time from the intraday perspective. Nothing here has to be changed, but I do expect break to the downside, and if we are going to break through 32.80, I do expect 31.80 to be tested, and I'm looking for this stop hunt towards these levels, because we are going to double the range when it comes to the pound. Watching and monitoring very carefully the developments on the dollar yen, because the yields were not that helpful, but there is a quite nice attempt to reverse Thursday and Friday price action, but still under the swing high. So I'm not in the hurry. I've been trying to trade this one, right? We were discussing 104, 103.75 from the dollar yen perspective as a possible long setup. And well, I do expect this swing high to be broken, and retest of 105, 125, 105.25 could be in place. So that when it comes to the super majors, right? But guys, we have to remember tonight, for me, during the Tokyo session, we do have RBA rate decision. So let's have a look what we have when it comes to the Australian dollar. Lately, no doubt about it, there is no, I cannot stress more, strong breakout, retest, stop count, trying higher. Today, market is trying to hold based on this weekly chart. Market is trying to hold based on the previous week price action, beginning of this week, trying to hold the swing high, right? But there is a big but, guys. Previous weekly open as a first support, and even more important, that last week what happened? We broke through this very important range, right? We might see some kind of the continuation. Well, that's gonna be very interesting where we are towards the end of the week, based on the medium and long term, right? The sellers are going to look for the move back and below 72.80 to try to get back inside this old range. That would for sure prepare us for a retest of that low, and then that would be a very, very interesting situation when it comes to the retest of 0.7. Well, let's switch lower. Let's have a look what we have when it comes to the daily chart. Of course, strong outside day. Is it first time we have something like this? Of course no, but I like this finishing the business and rejection. What I'm gonna to look for post RBA, well, I'm looking to fade the rally towards 73.70. That's gonna be my setup. Very, very similar situation when it comes to the EURUSD. Very similar situation when it comes to the Aussie Canadian dollar, all right, and Aussie yen. If you wanna be on the long side of the Australian dollar, then as your homework, check Australian dollar versus New Zealand, where we are. We just testing the very strong supply we discussed quite a few times. So let's switch to the weekly chart, and that's what we have here, right? So okay, we broke through this demand, but that's here is the latest weakness we've seen. Broken swing high, untested, and that's what we have right here, right now. Bearish overall when it comes to the Australian dollar, but the battle between the neighbors could provide the opportunity to try to buy Australian dollar. Now we have the RBA, but within the next 24 hours we do have GDP, more to come. So I'm going to keep you updated when it comes to the Australian dollar. With that being said, guys, don't be trapped, and see you next month. See you tomorrow. Take care. Goodbye. Good night.